It's a beautiful day in the garden today, and we're going to go exploring and see what's happening. I'm so excited for this new lily, which I picked up a few days ago. It's a very cold, hardy, subtropical lily from Mexico. It shoots red flowers up to 5 feet from the center in spring. So just pick this up. It's going in the garden in a few months. This is the beautiful peace lily, which gets bigger and bigger every year. Shoots out more and more beautiful flowers. The sweet Michelia, very, very perfumed, sweet perfume, just beautiful. Michelia alba brings the tropics to our home for up to 9 months of the year. And here we have the banana circle, where it all began 8 years ago. We get about 3-4 racks of bananas every year just from this circle. And I also use it to house a lot of the frost sensitive, cold sensitive young tropicals, such as this Michelia Monstera, which I just bought. And this one gives a fruit called the fruit salad fruit. It's amazing. And we have a young neem tree, which I just purchased recently too, and lots of other goodies. I'm currently watering with a sprinkler, so we'll come back to this later. We're in a drought, guys. Big time drought. So I've been running the sprinkler here in the tropical section. This is tropical spinach called Malabar, and currently it's sending up beautiful flowers. Delicious Malabar. Loves the heat, hates the cold. This is a beautiful bright red ginger. Another recent purchase. I got a few of these gingers about a month ago, and I have them in pots until next spring, which is around September, October in Australia. So for now, check it out. Look how big it is. It's like over 6 feet tall in a pot. Who can guess what these are? Looks like a fruit tree, doesn't it? Well, it kinda is. This is the curry tree. These are curry seeds, and inside the fruit is the seed, which can grow a new curry tree. Oop, one just fell. And here are the curry leaves from where curry comes from. Just got this recently at Bunnings, and got a great deal. Look at the size of it. It's already mature. I had to even cut the tops off. It was too high. So you can always get started with mature plants if you can score them. Curry leaf tree. Still have a lot of figs to go. We're about halfway through fig season, which runs from February till April. So we've been eating about, I don't know, a dozen a day. That's the main fig tree. Look at the size of it. It's huge. And over here we have the other one, the second one. So always have a backup. Always have a backup. Both of these fig trees are now 15 years old. I have a third one too, around the side of the house, which is a brown variety. These two are greens. Here is my sweetheart. I call her sweetheart because she's so beautiful. Beautiful. I love this beautiful tropical look on trees. And you can see the beauty in the leaves. The shape of them, the way they shine, and the way they droop. And right now, it's in flowering stage. It flowers in March. And we've never had any fruit from this star fruit. So, crossing my fingers, guys, that we get some fruit for the first time from the star fruit tree. The beautiful carambola. And speaking about beautiful, wow. It doesn't get more beautiful than this Hawaiian / pink guava. I only planted this out 2 years ago after being in a pot for 3 years. So now it's a 6-year-old tree, and it's already well, 2.5 meters. Absolutely beautiful, and more importantly, loaded. It's a welcome fruit at the end of winter. Yeah, this grows not only over summer and autumn, it also grows through winter here in Melbourne. So this is the gift that we get after 7 months of growth. The pink guava. Here's another new tree that I purchased back at the end of spring last year, around November. And I was so rapt, so happy to find it because it had fruit on it. It was already fruiting. It was already semi-mature. Got it in a small pot, put it in a big pot. It's going to spend a few years in this pot, a big one. And this is what's called a persimmon. There's two kinds of persimmon. Astringent and non-astringent. This is the astringent variety, which means you gotta wait until it's mushy and real soft. Basically teardrop in its texture. And this particular one is called Day Maru Persimmon. That'll be ready around late April, early May. Now this one, which has that teardrop shape, is called Hachiya in America and Japan, where it comes from. But here in Australia, we call it the nightingale. And this also was purchased back in November. And this one is a big one. Look at the size of it. Also astringent. There's a couple of them on here. There's one there. And also in a pot. Yeah. Hachiya Persimmon. This persimmon here is a semi-dwarf. It's called a gyro. Gyro. It's basically similar to the fuyu, the most common variety. And it's a giant size fuyu. Only one this year. As the tree puts on more growth, it was always a little short, and this year it just decided to go into growing mode rather than fruiting mode. It's already 2.5 meters. Gyro / fuyu persimmon. This year, guys, is the most well-known of all persimmon. It's called the fuyu, F-U-Y-U, and it's the common persimmon, non-astringent, just like the gyro we saw before. This one is slightly smaller than the other persimmons, and you eat it more as an apple with a crunch. However, you can let it go mushy and soft if you wish, so you got both choices with this variety, either way. And this one is totally packed. It's also the oldest of the persimmons I have, going on to 10 years old. It's absolutely loaded this year with over 100, maybe 200 fruit. So we have to cover it from the parrots. This one will be ready around May. And this is the Jujube tree, which we've been munching on now for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. And there's only a few left. Kim and I have been going through about a dozen a day. And everyone has to have one of these. Easiest tree to grow. It's one of those fail-proof. Jujube, Chinese date tree. And it grew to over 3 meters, almost 3.5 meters, in only 4 years. That means 10 to 12 feet in only 4 years, guys. No fertilizer, no watering, nothing. Only a stake to keep it from falling over, because it's very lanky. Very lanky, it likes to fall over. That's the ice cream bean tree, which is just taken off. I filmed this about a month ago, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It just loves the climate here in Melbourne. Ice cream bean tree has already passed 4 meters, climbing up to close to 5 meters. So that's about 15 feet after only 5 years in the ground. It's going to be flowering soon. The flower buds are just about to open, and it fruits over winter. Yeah. And the first pods are ready early spring. This is a new avocado that I planted in the ground last week. One of 2. And I had it in the pot for a couple of years. And I reckon that it's ready to do battle against the elements. And its main enemy is the hot sun in summer. So now that summer is over, it's the best time to put it in the ground so it gets established. And its second enemy is wet feet. Wet feet means standing in water that doesn't drain away. That's an instant death wish. So I had to prepare the soil with gypsum, which breaks up the soil. That took me 2 hours of digging and mucking around to get this Pinkerton variety avocado to lead a happy life here in Melbourne. And this one is well known for being a big producer of avocado. We'll find out. And this one here is another one that I planted only a couple of days ago. I had two that were destined to be planted in the ground whilst when summer was over. Those 35 plus degree days, you know, 100 Fahrenheit and over, not a good idea. So I waited and in it went. This one took me 3 hours to get into the ground because the soil was very, very compacted. Basically clay. And man, did I sleep well that night after digging to get this guy all nice and happy. So he survives all the rain we get in winter and the hot sun in summer. This variety is called Lamb Has. Lamb Has. It's basically a giant version of the common Has avocado. This guy here is the common Has avocado, which has been in the ground now for only 2 years, and yet has managed to grow over 3 meters in height. The Has avocado, doing great. And this is a big boy. These are known to grow like 20, 30, 40 feet in height. Yeah, around 10 meters. A very big and tall tree. And here are the original avocados I planted about 12, 13 years ago. Two of them side by side. Many of you already know these guys. They give us about a dozen fruit every year. This is a semi-dwarf variety, but currently at 4 meters. I keep pruning it back. It's the Wurtz variety. Wurtz. W-U-R-T-Z. Yeah, and very good variety for Melbourne. So that's 5 avocado trees that I have in the ground now. So plant them early, because some of them can take up to 10 years or over 10 years to fruit. This here is the custard apple. It's kind of hard to see. You've got ginger in the front, you've got the ice cream bean behind it, but this one here is the custard apple. Man, oh man, these guys are slow to grow. Slow and not fruiting. Not fruiting. I've only had one fruit from this a couple of years ago, and it was delicious. It gives about 5 or 6 fruit, but they drop off in late winter because the fruit forms over winter, late autumn and winter. So custard apple is really slow in Melbourne. I've done everything I can to improve its odds, but it just likes to take it slow. Here's another variety, same variety of avocado, and this one is stashed at the back in between bananas and mandarin trees. And exactly like the other one, it's been in the ground for about 8 years and only gives 1 fruit to full maturity, but about 5 or 6 before they drop off. Here's one. It just popped up last week. Hang on, where is it? There it is there. There you go. They sort of just drop off. Given it plenty of fertilizer, potassium, and phosphorus, all the good stuff. It's very hard to film now. The sun is shining in my face. So that's the other custard apple. This one's about 2 meters high. The other one was 2.5 meters. And whilst I'm back here, close to the back fence, I've had success with this banana. It's been in the ground now for 2 years. It fruited about 2 months ago, and there it is. Success. So I don't even remember what variety it is. It's hard to keep up over 2 years with so many bananas planted. This one here is where I was growing corn over summer and grapes, and I reckon this one will be fruiting next. It's also been here for 2 years, and it's almost 5 meters high, so evidently likes the position, gets full sun most of the day. So we'll see what happens with him. He's already got a pup. That's in the veggie patch. It was a bit of an experiment, and wow, it paid off. Here's the Tamarillo tree from South America. Well, the fruit have been on here now for about 5 months, and they're almost ready to turn color. This is an orange variety. They come in orange, red, and yellow. So Tamarillo, growing in a pot. Yep, you can grow full-size tropical fruit trees in Melbourne in small pots like that. That means anywhere, even in a small courtyard. The same goes with bananas. This is a bit of a tight squeeze here. I'm right beside the Tamarillo, and behind there is the brown turkey fig tree, which is almost complete now. We've been feasting on it all month. And what I wanted to show was this beauty. This is a very special tree. It's the all year round cherry tree. Yeah, I showed this before. It's called the Barbados Cherry. It's always flowering, guys. Always flowering. It's got beautiful, beautiful flowers. So if you love cherries and you're in a temperate zone, like anywhere in Australia or California or Texas or Florida, you got to get one of these. Barbados Cherry. Barbados Cherry. There you go. This one's premature, but just to show you. That's when it's green, that's when it's red, and that's its flowers. The other name it's commonly known by is acerola. And this one's also growing in a pot, right beside my furnace. This one is 4 years old. Okay, now we're going to explore some of the goodies I bought, both in January and a couple of weeks ago from the nursery. These are very young plants. Starting off with a common ginger, and this one here, which is a real beauty. If I can get around, it's known as the Davidson's plum. Very common in the tropics of Australia. It's only a small boy. It's basically a sour plum, which is quite unique. The fruit grows along the trunk instead of the outer branches like common plums. Right next to it, I got this one here, which I never would have imagined was available here in Melbourne. It's an American native pawpaw. Most of you have never heard of that, nor had I until recently. I got two of them. You need two for cross-pollination, two different varieties, and they happen to have two. So I got two of them. And what is it? It's like similar to the custard apple. It's like a combination of custard apple, mango, and banana. American pawpaw. Nothing to do with papaya, because in Australia we call papaya pawpaw. And there's the other one. Its mate for pollinating. Another pawpaw from America. Native American pawpaw. Another ginger. These gingers, by the way, are flowering gingers, not edible. So I got a white one, a red one, a pink one, an orange one. About 5 different flowering gingers. I have them all in pots, so that when spring comes around, which is September, October for us, I can transplant them around the garden. And here, this is another special one. This one is a tamarind tree. Tamarind, but not the Asian tamarind that we're used to from India or Thailand. This is the Australian native tamarind, which once again is known in the Queensland tropical parts. I scored that. I got this from Bunnings, believe it or not. Very good deal too. And it's doubled in height since I bought it back in January. So it's doing really well here in this circle. Moving right along. This is Galangal. Galangal, which is similar to turmeric. It just finished flowering, had beautiful, still has a couple left, beautiful flowers on it. Galangal is for cooking. So ginger, turmeric, Galangal family. And speaking about turmeric, there's a turmeric right there, and it's flowering. Check it out. That's a turmeric flower, guys. I just got this in January, and it had no flower, it had nothing. It was only like 2 leaves. And I potted it, put it in the pot, and there's another one over there. I got 2 of them. 2 turmerics. That herb is Vietnamese mint or Vietnamese coriander. It's awesome. Kim doesn't like it much, but I love it. And that's a Babaco, which is a cold hardy variety of papaya. It's very windy today. Babaco, and that does really good here in Melbourne. We've had about 5 of them in the last month. You can have these as substitutes for green papaya in cooking, or for juicing when they ripen. Here's another Tamarillo. I got a couple of these back in January, I think, or hang on. No, sorry, at the end of November. I bought 2 of them, and they were only like 6 inches high, and now they're 5 feet tall in the ground. Yeah, I've got a red variety and orange variety, pretty close. Look at the leaves. Look at that. Amazing. And here, this is another beautiful newcomer to the garden. It's known as Roselle. And Roselle is hibiscus. It's basically hibiscus that you can juice and eat from these buds, these rose hips. And they're almost ready, still flowering. And again, this is one I got only 6 inches tall, and it's already over a meter. Roselle, edible or drinkable hibiscus, tropical, doing really great in a pot. And just below it is a passion fruit. I've got a few passion fruits as well. Just experimenting with passion fruit. These are climbers. I just have them in the pots for now. See how they do next spring. And I think I shared this before. This is called Stevia, which is a sweet plant. It's basically a substitute for sugar. And it's tropical, doesn't like the cold at all. I grew this about 5 years ago, and over winter it sort of dies back. Stevia in a pot. It's better than sugar. It's amazing. Okay, that's the backyard. Let's go to the front. Well, the front is just as amazing as the back. There's less trees, but check it out. We've got a fruiting rack of bananas here, which has been up there now for 3 months. They still have another 6-7 months to go. They'll be ready around early spring. Look at the size of that rack. Amazing. There's a rack at this corner every year. So as that one dies, the one next to it fruits, and they all take their turn. Fruiting, dying, fruiting, dying. It's an endless, non-stop cycle of bananas. There's the next one for next year. Okay, and here we have that mango, which gave its first fruit about a month ago. Still a young tree. Yeah. Beautiful. A good example to everyone walking by that yes, you can grow bananas in Victoria. Okay, there's the proof. So now we've come to the king or queen of my fruiting garden, which is this. The white sapote. It's in a bit of shade here. These guys have only been in the ground for 2.5 years, and they're already 7 feet, 2.5 meters tall, and they just love Melbourne. It's like Melbourne is their favorite climate. Just love it. They can go all the way down to -5 Celsius or 25 Fahrenheit. Amazing. Check it out. This year they don't have as much fruit as last year, but still looking so good. There's another one. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different varieties here in the front. The reason for that is, well, I didn't know anything about these guys, and nor does anyone else know. So when I saw them at the nursery, I bought them all. No one knew anything. Everyone was shrugging, and they weren't cheap. These are about $80 each. Yeah, I spent $400 that day to see which variety is best suited for Melbourne and which one tastes the best. They were all grafted, ready to roll. And not only are they surviving, look at them. All 5 of them are loving it. They're huge. They're big and bushy, and 100% success with white sapote in Melbourne. Every variety, all 5. Here's another one. Look at this one. This one hasn't fruited. It's the only one that hasn't fruited. But look how happy it looks. This one is the Hawaiian variety. It's called Hawaiian Supreme White Sapote. And this one's a little different than the others. It's the only one that doesn't like scorching hot weather, like 110 Fahrenheit. The leaves will burn. This is from January. From January. It still is showing its wounds. The other varieties didn't give a damn about 40 Celsius, but this one did. And this variety here also bears fruit more than once a year. It's already given me a couple, but they're small. These are smaller than the other ones. Smaller sized, but loaded. And here's another one. This one is growing into a monster in size. Check it out. It's like 2.5 meters high and 2.5 meters wide. I've had to prune it a few times. Lots and lots of pruning. So I want to give it a shape so it doesn't go wild. And best of all, this one is the most fruitful. I don't know where to begin. And the largest. Fruitful and big. Look at this. It's crazy. If only I could get mangoes to work like this in Melbourne. I think I'd win the Australian of the Year award. Look at that. Amazing. Look at that. Crazy. And all across, without holding every one of them. Just amazing. There's at least 50 baseball size white sapotes on this one tree. Hard to see when everything is green. They'll be ready late April, early May. And right here we have something that everyone knows, but although looking beautiful right now in autumn, can't stand Melbourne's frost. Doesn't like frost. Doesn't like cold wind. Doesn't like too much rain in winter when it's cold. So it's very tropical. Melbourne is anti-tropical. That means Melbourne is dry in summer. The tropics are wet in summer. Melbourne is wet in winter. The tropics are dry in winter. And that's what Papaya likes. Papaya likes it tropical, not Melbourne. Which means he's gonna die in June. Oh, what a pity, huh? And I've tried everything to keep these guys from dying, but nothing seems to work. This is a red-fleshed tropical papaya growing in Melbourne, but soon to die. So far, this rack of bananas is the biggest one I've seen grow here in 8 years. Check it out. It's going to be hard to see it all because of the lighting. Look how long it is. At least 100 to 120 fingers. And it's coming off this guy here. And funny enough, it's decided to grow over my neighbor's fence. So there it is there, hanging over the fence. So once again, guys, don't be afraid to try bananas in Melbourne or Victoria. Not a problem. Guaranteed success. And here's a new rack that just opened about 2 weeks ago. And even though it's really windy today, they hold up and don't collapse. And here we have the smallest of all citrus, known as Kumquat, used for marmalade and jams. This does really well in Melbourne too. Actually, any citrus does well in Melbourne. These are just finishing now in their fruiting stage. They fruited all summer, but look how many are left. We're actually just letting them go. And these are all the new ones coming for next spring. So spring kumquats together with summer kumquats simultaneously. The kumquat, the smallest of all citrus fruit. This here is the white-fleshed guava, or Indian guava. I've had this for 4 years, but it was in a pot. And a couple of months ago I decided to put it into the ground because it just wasn't doing much more in the pot than remaining at 1.5 meters, or just over 4.5 feet. And the fruit wasn't hanging on. Basically, it wasn't working very well. So now it's in the ground, and we'll see what difference that makes to the Indian guava. They usually eat this variety of guava green with salt. They dip it in salt and have it as a savory dish. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. We'll have to wait and see how it tastes. These here, guys, are the sweetest of all guavas that I have. It's known as the yellow cherry guava. Yellow cherry, and the first ones are actually coming now. Well, they're turning yellow. But the thing is, because of the drought this summer, it hasn't grown the way it should have, because I haven't been watering it. No water at all from me, and no rain at all. And yet, it's so loaded. It's hard to see the fruit because they're green until they ripen. But there's literally over 500 fruit if I zoomed into every branch. And it's growing right under the papaya. Didn't expect the papaya to grow so fast. So that was like an act of nature, which you can't predict. So that's the yellow cherry guava, which is extremely happy with Melbourne's weather. And not only that, it produces fruit twice a year. In autumn, which is right now, coming soon, and again in winter. Yeah, it fruits again in winter. You get 2 chances at this baby. And boy, are they sweet. Check it out. Look how many fruit there are. It's crazy. And you can buy this in a real small pot for like $10 at the nursery. And it takes about 3 years to get fruiting. This one is about 4 years old. Maybe 5. Alrighty, we're almost done. It's a long video, guys, because there's just so much to share. And I'm not even sharing everything, by the way. I'm leaving out about 20% of what's here, like this big beautiful mulberry tree, the white shatut, which did a splendid job over spring. We'll talk about that another time. But right now, this is the Cherimoya, which is closely related to the Custard Apple. I've had this one for about 3 years. It's 4 years old. It was in a pot for 3 years. And together with the Guava here, they were both in pots. So it's just gone in the ground now, about 2 or 3 months ago. And I had one fruit from this a couple of years ago when it was in a pot. Oh my God, it was incredible. Huge, large size Cherimoya, custard apple, right? It's a custard apple cousin, and sweet and just perfect, the perfect Anona. So we're hoping that these flowers do something. It's got a few flowers on it. Like I said, it's just gone in the ground, so it's hasn't fully recovered or fully leafed out. This is what the flowers look like. They're all closely related, together with Rollinia and custard apple, soursop. You've got to get in there somehow to pollinate. Yeah. So it's a bit of a freaky kind of tree, but absolutely delicious. Cherimoya, custard apple's cousin. We're going to wrap it up with the Pomelo. The Pomelo is the giant size citrus, the king of citrus for its size, fruit size that is, not tree size. I've got 3 of these. Look at that. That's not even finished growing. It still has it still has autumn and winter to go. Look at it. It's crazy. It still has another 4 to 5 months of growth. Right? Look. Pomelo. It's basically a grapefruit on steroids. This one is only 4 years old and already out into the sky at 2.5 meters. And wrapping it up now, these are dragon fruit plants which have been growing here now for 3 years on these temporary stakes. I need to do something about a permanent fixture because it's getting pretty heavy and we don't want the whole thing to collapse. So, and right beside it is a sugar cane. I'm going to pick some sugar cane in a moment to see how it went. Although this summer was a very bad year for sugar cane and for a lot of these tropical plants because they love water. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video of our tropical garden. Yep, tropical. Everything I shared today was tropical and subtropical. See you next time. Happy gardening.